Welcome to the It's Possible show. I'm your host, Antonia Rawle. Tune in on August 15th at 6 p.m. on the SFC Broadcasting Network, where you're going to hear some amazing stories from ordinary people doing some extraordinary things. So make sure and log on to our YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Don't miss it. Host Antonia Rawle. So, what the Is Possible show is all about, we want you guys to know, as it says in the book of Luke, chapter 18, verses 27, and it reads, things which are impossible with men are possible with God. And that's basically what this show is going to be. We're going to basically highlight individuals within our CARICOM region who are doing some extraordinary things that you would never get to hear or see or know, but God is showing you through their lives and through their testimonies that it's possible, that even in a pandemic, we can still do extraordinary things. So today, we're going to be interviewing two dynamic men who we're going to hear from, how we're going to hear from their backgrounds, how they started off, and how God brought them to a place where they were able to do some awesome things, and they continue to persevere and to pursue after their dreams. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to Mr. Alvin Brown.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, Alvin. What a pleasure. Thanks for joining us here on the It's Possible show. All
Thank
right,
you.
so
Thank you
this
for having me.
evening, we want to introduce our audience to you. All right, I want them to understand your background and where you come from. All right, now they would hear the accent. So, audience, I want you all to know that Alvin hails from the beautiful island of Jamaica. All right, Kingston, Jamaica, and he is truly an extraordinary individual. You know, with an engineering background, he has a love for various things, and he would share a lot of it when we interview him today. And today would also just be a tip of the iceberg when we're talking about Mr. Brown and the various projects that he's involved in. So, Alvin, tell us how it is you were able to transition from Jamaica and now living in Trinidad.
I came to Trinidad and Tobago to do a degree in engineering. So at the time, the University of the West Indies specialized, the St. Augustine branch specialized in engineering, among other things. So you couldn't do it anywhere else in the Caribbean at UA unless you came to St. Augustine. So that is the reason why I came over. And then I started working in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering after I graduated. And I've been in Trinidad since.
Okay, so You're here, you arrive in Trinidad and Tobago, and we want people to know exactly you're wearing the t shirt, all right? You are the manly man. And how did the Manly Man series came to be? You're in Trinidad, you're going to UE, you know, you're graduated, you're working on campus. How do you transition from being an engineer to having such a program as the Manly Man series?
So I started working on campus, and then I start after that I left and I started teaching in a high school. And when I was there, I realized that a lot of the young men didn't know how to treat or interact with the young ladies around them. And one of the problems that we have generally is that we're like this generation, this generation, that. But if
Yes,
it is that they don't have the knowledge, then whose fault is it? It's ours. So instead of
that's
me
right.
simply complaining about it, I started doing some short animations called the Manly Man series, where I spoke about things like walking on the inside. I spoke about chivalry. I spoke about cyberbullying, catcalling, even the importance of fathers spending time with their children. Because it's though most of it was focused on the younger ones, we also I also recognized that there were other issues, other challenges, and I basically did short animations that would address those topics because a lot of the young men wanted to know, but they were never taught. So the challenge is how can you expect them to do the right thing if no one has showed them what the right thing is? So the
Yes.
Manly Man series is a set of media, whether animation, whether live talks, docu-series, etc., that seeks to encourage and talks that seek to encourage youth and in particular young men to be responsible.
Okay. And I love what you said because it's a pet peeve of mine when people always expect people to know things, but they are not taught, and it tends to happen a lot with young people. I've had that experience also as a teacher, when I used to tell my students when they come into class, take off the hat, take off the hat. And one day, one of the guys said to me, Miss, why must I take off the hat? And I look at him as if, like, but you should know this, it's a form of respect when you come into a room as a man to take off the hat. And he said, Miss, I truly don't know. No one never told me. And that's where it dawned on me that a lot of times we assume that they
Yeah.
know, but really and truly they've never been taught. So I love the initiative that you have taken to actually teach them life lessons by creating this video. So tell me, what has been the response of these students and even their parents? Because I'm sure the parents would now notice and see that you're now doing these videos and so forth. What has been the response from both students and parents?
The response has been very good. You would see them like the students doing something random and another one would correct them and be like, hey, you're not being a manly man. So they because of the fact that it's animation and it grabs their attention and it is, you see, one of the challenges that we have in general is the things that are good tend to be boring. So the purpose of the Manly Man series is to capture the attention of the audience while telling them the right things, the good things, the healthy things, which is usually the opposite of what media currently does. So I've had very good response, or I've had a very good response from the students, and I've also had a very good response from the parents because they seek to have that conversation with their children using the videos. In fact, I often say that one of my biggest fans is actually an 8-year-old girl because she's fascinated by it. So it transcends even the male and female. It speaks about the things that are necessary. It speaks about the importance of responsibility, and everyone has seen it has gotten on board.
Okay, so Alvin, now you've had good response from both parents and students, but I am positively sure you have had challenges. No one I know have lived on this earth, especially living in Trinidad and Tobago, having a Jamaican accent and trying to put certain things like this in place or even getting the word out and trying to expand. What have been some of the challenges in creating this Manly Man series for young men?
I think the biggest challenge has been the cost, because like I one of the things I'm doing is I created a docu series, which is uh which which involves, so the format of it is that you have someone who is in the particular field, a professional, and you have someone that is well known to person. So like in the first one, you have Dr. Peter Weller. He is a clinical psychologist, and you have Ryzen, which is a gospel artist, and we speak about men and how men deal with rejection. And of course, the extreme end of
Right.
that is, of course, um, murder suicides. Because if it is that men have an issue and they feel that they are, someone has left and they feel powerless, then the ultimate power play is to, according to, which makes sense. The ultimate power play, according to the psychologist, is to take your life. If I can't have you,
Right.
then no one can. So that the pilot was created, and I'm very grateful for my sponsors, but everything around it in general takes money. So I think the biggest challenge is getting sponsors on board, because oftentimes you'll hear a lot of persons say, "This is awesome." However, our
Then dipping into that
our
purse.
yeah, and the fascinating thing is, to me, I often say, we hear a lot of people saying, men need to be doing this. Men are being violent towards the partners, and you have a lot of young men going in crime. But when there
Hmm.
is a solution that is being put forward, that is being brought forward, not everybody is going to
So
dip
true,
into
huh?
the pocket and actually put their money where their mouth is. So,
That's right.
I always hear it is an excellent initiative and it is definitely needed at this time. However, so my biggest challenge is the corporate sponsors who like it, but not seemingly enough to partner.
Do you
Yeah.
think it is that they're not seeing the connection? I mean, I know they say to you, great initiative, but being in a pandemic right now and also in a society, pointing out some of the things that you just pointed out, crime, the increase in crime, and all the different things that are taking place in our society, do you think that it's on them that they are not making that connection?
Someone once told me, it was actually recently, it sounds good, but once it is that you start to challenge individuals about being responsible, then some persons may become afraid, because they might say, snap, what if I'm here pushing this thing, and 5 years ago I had said something inappropriate and it comes back and bites me. So
Right.
there's a possibility that some may be worried that in promoting it, that they set themselves up in the case that they may have said or done something in the past. But what is important to note is that a manly man is not perfect. He seeks to continually
That's right.
improve. Only God is perfect. Right? There's none good
That's
but
right.
Christ. So he seeks to continually improve himself. So if it is that is the concern, I remember there's an artist in Jamaica, Bounty Killer. He spoke about how he had a negative view, or unhealthy view of relationships, and
Right.
he had an unhealthy idea about this whole idea of informer, and he was man enough to change his views, and man enough to admit that he was wrong. One of the challenges we
Wow.
have is we're of the opinion that if someone has done this today, 10 months down the line they're the same, 20 years down the line they're the same, but that is flawed. So
And do you think that's because of society? Because society tends to do that to people. I mean, when you say bounty killer, I think a lot of us who went to school in the 90s and so forth, we well know
yeah,
Bounty Killer. We know some of the lyrics of his song, I'm sure we
yeah,
could
yeah,
recall some, but people tend to have this expectation of people not changing, and I don't think everyone understands that even in our journey, myself, and I'm sure with you as well, and most people, it's progressive, you know. Things are progressive, and sometimes someone will make a mistake, yes, and they are able to change, So, do you think it's because of society that tends to pigeonhole people and hold people into a particular box that hinders this type of transformation that we want to see? Because when you speak of that, it also it tells me as well that that in itself is a barrier we're going to have to break, because even with the young men that you are seeking to influence and to teach about the various things that they should know as young men to become better men in society, if they are unable to understand that they are progressing as well as young men into men, they could also have a very skew mindset in terms of what a man should really look like.
yeah. They might believe that a man is flawless. There's a
Yes,
saying that to err is human, but to forgive is divine. And you know, society is a reflection of ourselves. So we have a
yes,
tendency of holding somebody up. You see that guy 10 years ago, you know what he did to me? And therefore that is the reason why, because nowadays we're in a society of cancellation. If you dare had said anything
yes,
that was wrong 15 years ago, they're going to say, how dare you, and automatically assume that you haven't matured in 15 years. If you're
yes.
30, 15 years ago you were 15. You understand?
Yeah,
There are 15 years ago, there are many of us who were never even born. 20 years ago, there are many of us who were never
so
even
true.
born. And if we can mature in our thinking from 6 until 21, or from 0 until 20, or 0 until 15, what possible reason could we have to not presume that someone can change? So
Well,
it's
I
one of the
think it's also a
challenges that we
part
currently have.
of them always seeing the negative. We tend to see the negative versus the positive. It's somehow our
Yeah,
mind tends to go quickly to the negative side as opposed to the positive. So even when a man is making those necessary changes, people will always say, well, I remember, and I remember when
yeah.
he used to, or I remember, they always go back to the past. How do you think we can
Even in
change
even
that
in our
narrative in
relationships,
society?
even in our relationships, I'm sure, if you're having an
Yes.
issue with your mother will say, "And that time when," and that's
Yes.
probably like 5 years ago. I mean, like, come on, you know. So,
Yes.
in fact, if I were to play the advocate,
Yeah. Yes, the
even in
advocate.
terms of even in terms of our relationships, oftentimes, men have this saying that women have a tendency of having very good memory.
Yes.
And sometimes the good memory is for that which is evidence to prove their argument, which means it's probably evidence that is not necessarily the best thing. She remembers something you didn't do well.
Yeah.
Hopefully she's fair enough to also really remember the good things, because there needs to be
Yes.
balance in life. So
Yes,
yeah.
and that's true. We really need to have balance. That is definitely one of the things that I think all of us are striving to achieve is really balance, and I think that's something that God expects of most of us. So, we've mentioned God here and there. And could you tell us, how has your faith helped shaped you to keep going the distance, at this present time in life and all that is going on in our society? Everybody thinking the world is going to end, and loss of jobs, and there's floods here and everyday riot here. There seems to be something that is going on. Tell us, how has your faith helped you to keep persevering and keep pushing with this Manly Man series?
I have come to the realization that it is not mine. Um, I I I started teaching, and when I started teaching, I saw how the the young men didn't know certain things, and I I saw how even becoming a teacher was God's hand on me, because that was not the plan at all. I mean, I had intentions of doing like extra classes because of I had a formula in my mind, but teaching in a high school was not one of them. And I've seen how he has moved. I have seen how he has, even in terms of the pandemic. So like I lost my father during this time, and it's challenging, being away from home, being away from your family, and it is
Yes.
my relationship with God which has definitely helped. I was telling someone recently that one of the good things one of the good things is to recognize, and the pandemic has certainly helped, that you're powerless. And it is recognizing that you're powerless that helps you to let go, because you wasn't holding on to anything in the first place. Here you are powerless. This period has forced me to rest more on God. And to be honest, I this period has been a blessing. I mean, I have lost a lot, but God has been very good during this time.
Awesome. And that is true. That's one thing. Once you're a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ, He has a way of taking us through and bringing us out as pure gold. And I love the narrative of your story in the fact that, you know, you haven't stopped and you would not stop, and that's basically what you're saying. And I think with the young men that you're seeking to inspire when they even see your life, because our life is a testimony in itself when they see you being consistent and see you always showing up, because that's one of the big things with kids is that sometimes they have these, as you would have highlighted earlier, men tend to be absent, but when you
Yeah.
show up day after day, that in itself is a testimony, and to see what you're doing with these students is truly making a difference. So Alvin, tell us
You
what
raised, sorry, go on.
sure, go ahead.
You raised an important thing a while ago, this whole idea of showing up. Because I think in society we don't have enough men showing up. And oftentimes we hear people talk about, toxic masculinity, and men are evil. And I'm saying, listen, the problem with society is that we don't have enough men. 85% of the men that are in 85% of prisoners come from fatherless homes.
Wow.
85%. So
Yes.
obviously, it's not a matter of not it is an absence of men that is the issue. You have a lot of young men who do not have an understanding of what a man is, and they go to their
Yes.
friends on the corner who also don't have any fathers, or who have a negative view or a negative example, and they come together, and they're in a gang. They find
Yeah.
their worth and their identity in this gang, and then they go outside and they do whatever they're doing. The challenge that we have, which is why it's what you're doing now is so good, is that we don't have these serious discussions. We need more men to be responsible, but in doing so,
Yes.
we need to have, again, balance. The issue is not
Yes.
men. The issue is the lack of men. 85% of prisoners come from fatherless homes. Of course, we can argue on the importance of men taking up their responsibilities. This is true. But we also have to argue about all of the issues that come and arise from fatherless homes, and recognize that men in a house, the nuclear family is extremely important. And of course, we have the exceptions to the rule, and we have a case where you have uncles coming in, grandparents coming in, and that is wonderful. But in the 85% that are in those fatherless homes, I'm sure that there is no nurturing going on, or there is
So,
no
Alvin, tell
balance.
us tell us how. Now I know you've gotten positive response from the students and also from their parents, but I mean you're tackling some serious topics in terms of murder, suicide, even tackled bully, because I've seen some of your videos. And these kids that watch them, what type of effect have you seen in life interacting with them? What real change have you seen that you could testify to with these young men that you interact with? Have they change in the classroom, after viewing the videos? What type of change have you seen from these young men?
The change that is most constant, that is most consistent, comes with relationships. So I've seen individuals who are okay. So let's say that they're ballers. So generally, at lunchtime they go on to play football, or Trinidad and said they go and sweat. I've seen ballers who have not had good grades come into my lab and sit in my class during lunchtime after they've eaten. They're not in any. They're not getting. It's not punishment. Disclaimer: it's
So they
not
come in
punishment.
on
They
their own free will. That's what you're saying.
willingly come in after they've eaten, sit down and do work. I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
guys who and they get A plus in my class. You don't get A plus
Okay.
in my class just like that. I've seen them focus. Why does this
Wow.
happen? Because they recognize that somebody actually cares. They recognize
Yes.
that this is someone who you can reason with. This is someone that will say, listen, hey, what is your issue? What is the problem? And it will sit with them and they'll do work. And sometimes
That's
all that is
awesome.
required is someone to pay them mind, to give them some
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah, and just show up, that is an
Yeah.
awesome testimony. So, Alvin, in closing, what are the three things you would like for us to take away as it relates to the Man Man series? What are the three things you would like us to take away?
I'd say it's probably just two. One is the fact that it's important for young men to be responsible, men in general, because there are always consequences to your actions. And the next thing is to continuously improve. Because a manly man is not perfect. It's just someone who seeks to continuously improve himself. Which means no matter how bad you are right now, you have no excuse because all you have to do is to just become better.
Okay, thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, responsibility and continuously improving from the manly man himself, Mr. Alvin Brown. Alvin, we want to thank you for being with us here this evening on the It's Possible show and just sharing with us some of the things that you are doing as it relates to the animation series with the Manly Man series and what you have coming on board very soon. We're believing that you're going to get the sponsorship for this series to go on to our national television. So tell the audience, how can they reach you?
Well, they can reach me at one. I have to make sure I put in the area code right. 1-868-363-0006. That's 1-868-363-0006. And the Manly Man series on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alvin. And also, if you guys didn't get what he just said, we would also put it in the description box on our YouTube channel, and you can definitely get his contact information there, and you can follow up with him if you want to get him to come out because he does speak in engagements, also to get access to the animation videos that he has teaching young men on these various topics that are so pertinent in our society. All right, so thank you again to Alvin. So at this time, we're going to shift to our sweet sister isle, Tobago, and we're going to be speaking to the one and only Mr. Rawle Sylvester. Welcome, Mr. Hi,
Good evening to you. Good evening to you.
good evening.
Can
I
you
see
hear
you
me
still
loud
in
and
the
clear?
store. How is Tobago doing?
Man, Tobago, I mean, it's just tranquil. I call it the capital of paradise, where we seek to provide a clean, serene environment for all, even in this post-COVID time.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Rawle. We love that. We love our sweet Tobago. So, Rawle, I want the audience to get to know more about you because I'm sure everyone is seeing the bagolicious in the background. But before we get into the sweet treats that they can have whenever they visit Tobago, I want them to get to know the man because you're an entrepreneur, you're a public speaker, at the same time, you are also a man that perseveres and push, so we want them to get to understand just a little bit about you before we get into the entrepreneurial side. So tell us, how did you come into one, because you're not Tobagonian, you're Trinidadian, so how did you transition from Trinidad to Tobago? Tell us, how did that happen?
Excellent, excellent. Well, I guess as Mr. Brown alluded to us a couple minutes ago, attempting to be the manly man, I fell in love in Tobago and with Tobago. And my wife, who is my wife presently, she did not want to transition to Trinidad. So being the manly man, I decided, okay, I'm going to make the move, and move to Tobago.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And I see and folks are hailing you out. I just want to take this time to thank everyone who is joining us at this present moment and continue to put your comments out there. Also, let us know where you're coming from. If you're Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica, St. Vincent, because we are definitely going to be folks are viewing us throughout the Caribbean region. So, Rawle, you're in Tobago, you had your moment of love and you fell in love with this lady on the Sweet Sister Isle and you're in Tobago. Now that you're in Tobago, tell us, how did you get in? Have you always been an entrepreneur? Have you always seen yourself to be an entrepreneur? How did you start off as an entrepreneur?
Great question, great question. Actually, when I moved to Tobago, my first form of employment was as a teacher in the secondary school system. I taught for about 11 years, right? But I quickly realized that someone else was in control of my time. And I was living similar to Pinocchio. I was living on the ends of strings that somebody else was pulling, right? I could not
Okay.
leave when I wanted to leave. I could not take my wife for lunch. I couldn't, so someone was controlling my time. And in my quest for freedom, that is what led me towards entrepreneurship, right? I first ventured into tours and taxi service, right? Taking
Okay.
persons show the beautiful island to see our beautiful waterfalls and beaches and different landmarks, show Tobago. And that is where I found the love and joy for entrepreneurship and interacting with others and learning different cultures. And it's really a privilege and really a pleasure to be an entrepreneur.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So, Rawle, you give up the check, as we like to call it, the steady check. You was a high school teacher and you give up that check. You went on to, doing taxi tours and so forth, and you've seen profit when you made that transition. But and one thing we're noticing with you and your story, you are ever evolving, all right? Because we definitely ain't seen a tour sign behind you, all right? We're definitely not seeing you in a taxi, all right? But you are the man of Bagolicious himself, and by the way, of Zib's ice cream. So tell us, how did you now transition from doing tours and taxi service to now being a man of treats and delights? How did this come to be?
Well, there's a book that I read on a daily basis. It says that two shall become one. And it's actually because of my wonderful wife. Her mother had a store in Storby, one of our popular beaches in Tobago. And she sold at that time, she sold ice cream, which she purchased from other people. And as she got older, she decided to retire, and we decided that we're not going to close the business, right? Which is what we see,
Okay.
sad to say, in a lot of family businesses, that the next generation may not tend to carry it on. But we decided to actually embrace the business opportunity, and carry it on. And in so doing, we decided to manufacture our own ice cream. And that is what we did. So we started to manufacture our own ice cream. The name of the brand is Zib's Homemade Ice Cream. It's definitely one of the most delectable homemade ice creams
Wait,
you'll ever,
roll
ever
before
taste.
you even go there, because Mom's was selling other people ice cream, and you all decide now to become ice cream connoisseurs. How did you
Yes.
guys? You all had any skill, any training in making ice cream before? How did you guys decide to make ice cream? How did you all learn how to make ice cream? How did that came? How did you get
Great.
into the trade?
Great question. Great question. My wife is a social worker by profession as a teacher at that
Okay.
time. So, no, we had no skill, no experience at all in manufacturing ice cream. But there are two ways that you can learn something. You can learn by mistakes or you can learn by mentors. I'm going to say that again. There are two ways that you can master any skill, that you can learn any skill. You can learn by mistakes or you can learn by mentors. So, we decided to go the route of mentorship. And we contacted the person who at that time manufactured the best tasting ice cream on the island. And that's another secret to success as well, for persons who may be listening and taking notes. When you decide to go into a particular industry, always seek to be mentored and get in contact with the best, with the leaders in that particular industry. It is going to save you a lot of time. It's going to save you a lot of mistakes, right? So what we did, we contacted that individual and we asked her if she'd be willing to teach us and train us how to manufacture the ice cream. And she was more than willing. Miss St. Louis, she passed on now, but she taught us how to manufacture the ice cream. And since then, we have improved on that recipe. And now we are just, satisfying the most demanding taste of the island.
And that is truly awesome with what you just said there, because some people might have been intimidated and say, you know what, I ain't going to ask this lady because she might think we's her competition, or, I mightn't venture out or try to do it on their own. But one of the main things that you're also highlighting here, that it's okay to ask for help, you know ourselves in situations and we don't ask for help. Sometimes we do need the necessarily help and we need to just reach out, because you never know, they might get a yes, just like how you and your wife got a yes. And she being the number one maker of ice cream on the Tobago Isle at that time, I am sure some people would have doubted themselves and think to themselves that she would not have helped them out. But thankfully, she said yes to both you and your wife. And here it is, she has passed on, but she has now left a legacy through both you and your wife. And yes, it is the best tasting ice cream. If you have not have Zips ice cream, people, I am telling you, I taught it. I get it shipped. Rawle can tell you, because he does meet me on the port with it, meet me in the airport. It is one of the best ice creams, and they do a lot of festivals. Prior to COVID, they would have been at a lot of festivals. So, Rawle, tell us, what has been the response? I know we are testifying to it, but what has been the response from Tobagonians, visitors? And what are some of the flavors? And tell us what has been their response.
Definitely, we have faithful customers. We have customers that have been purchasing this ice cream. This is pre-COVID now, for at least 10 to 15 years, literally, right? We have repeated customers from abroad, from England, from America, from all over the world, literally. And they would send, other friends when they are visiting Tobago as well, just to taste the ice cream. And we have persons from Trinidad, like yourself, right, who would always demand, where can we get the product in Trinidad? When are you all coming to Trinidad? Where can we get the product? So
Yes,
it
Rawle.
is in high
When?
demand. It is definitely in high demand. And we what we seek to do, especially at this particular retail outlet that we launched this year, is to provide not just satisfying ice cream, but we also seek to provide things which are indigenous to Tobago. And that's how we came about with the name Bagolicious. So we provide flavors like bay leaf. We provide flavors like red mango, right?
Yes.
These are things which are indicative to the island of Tobago, right? And it's those are flavors that you may not even conceptualize being an ice cream, right?
I could do it
And
some right now, Roll, right
there
now.
you go, there you go.
As you're calling out the flavors, I truly do testify that it is unique. It's definitely unique. It's definitely unique. And how do both you and your wife, as partners, how do you guys sit down and come up with the ideas in terms of the flavors? Where does it start? Because I mean, we have our traditional soursop, your traditional vanilla, and so forth. But to venture into these other things like bay leaf and red mango, that is really out of the box kind of thing. So how do you guys go about selecting your flavor? Because you have some other flavors. Tell the people about these flavors and how do you guys come about going about making these new flavors?
That's a good question. In any industry, in any business that someone might be involved in, it is important to identify your unique selling point. It is important to be, as I said, to think out of the box, to be different. No matter what, you may be in food, you may be in clothing, you may be in IT. But no matter what industry you're involved in, it is always beneficial to be unique, to be different, to provide the customers with something that they would not be able to get from anywhere else, right? And we are grateful to Almighty God for granting us the creativity, the
Yes.
innovation, right? And the ability to manufacture ice cream from literally any fruit, any product that we can source here on the island of Tobago, we can use it to manufacture ice cream, right? And we're
People
grateful
here in
to
line,
Almighty
it
God
is
for that.
true.
We're really
That is
grateful to
so true
Almighty
because they
God for
have
that.
some unique flavors. They really have some flavors there that can make a man eye open and be like, "What? That is ice cream?" Yeah, you
Yes,
definitely do.
yes,
So,
correct,
Rawl,
correct.
which is on most people's mind, we're in a pandemic, right? But you're talking about launching a second branch, right? And I visit your branch where you are currently at in Big Olicious, and it is gorgeous. It is a
Thank you.
pandemic. Tell me, what caused you guys to launch and open another location?
Great question. Great question. In our experience, we recognize that in life there are two roads. There are always two roads. One is positive, one is negative. And the choice is up to the individual whether you're going to choose a positive route or a negative route, right? There are certain things, there are certain laws that govern the universe which are not impacted or affected by the pandemic, by any pandemic. And that is why way back in 1929, when we had the Great Depression, if you check history, there were hundreds of millionaires which came out of the Great Depression. In 2008,
Okay.
when again we had the crash out there in terms of the real estate industry in North America, there are so many millionaires that came out of that. And I can tell you by experience that coming out of this, what we call a pandemic now, that persons
Mhm.
who choose to be creative, persons who choose to pivot and actually innovate and recreate themselves, maybe learn a new skill and open a new business, they are the ones who are going to come out of this, not just surviving, but thriving. And that is why we decided to launch. This is the best time for anyone who might be listening. Now is the time. This is the best time to actually launch. This is the best time to learn a new skill. This is the best time to take your dreams off the shelf and to begin to turn them into reality. So that when things open up, when the country and the world open up, instead of now starting, you would have already started. And then you can catch the wave and ride it now in order to be successful and profitable. Now is the time, my friends.
All right, now is the time to ride the wave. Well said, Rawl. I love it. But Rawl, all of this is sounding like almost too good to be true. Honestly, what are some of the challenges? Because I know it has not been easy launching this new location, but just in general, what challenges that you have experienced, your wife, as a team, a husband and wife team, what challenges have you guys experienced in launching out into opening up this branch and just transitioning into making ice cream in general? Tell us, what are some of these challenges?
Definitely, definitely, we had a lot of challenges. We definitely had a lot of challenges, especially in this time and in this season. One of the first challenges we really had to surmount is internal, and in any particular industry, in any business, no matter how good the industry might be, no matter how profitable it might be, you always have to surmount that internal fear, for want of a better term, that can I do it? Would it really work?
Yes.
With persons,
Yes.
you always have to answer those internal questions. And once you're
So true.
able to surmount that internal opposition and tell yourself that, yes, I can do it. Yes, I have the ability. Yes, it's going to work. You always have to be self-motivated. You always have to muster that courage and that fortitude internally in order to surmount the challenge. There's an African proverb that says, once there's no enemy within, then the enemy without can't do you any harm. And that's critical. That's important, right? So, and even in terms of the relationship as it acts, another challenge we had is in terms of finding time to foster that intimacy and unity and stuff. Because being involved in entrepreneurship, you have to invest 110% sweat equity. The money is one thing, but the sweat equity that you have to invest. So when we were launching this branch, I mean, there were nights when I slept down here. I mean, it was early morning, late nights, just trying to transform this area to make it, something that would be reflective of the excellent standard that Zib's ice cream is known for, right? We had to maintain that standard. So it was long nights. There were times when I would leave when it's dark, return when it's dark. So those are some of the challenges. And if we are able to maneuver balancing the relationship with entrepreneurship, that is why you'll find some marriages kind of drift apart, some couples drift apart. You'll find persons focusing more on the businesses instead of each other, and not finding the balance, right? That's one of the major challenge. One of the major challenge that we had to surmount in this time and in this season.
So, Rawle, I am sure anyone listening and watching, because I'm seeing the comments coming across the screen from our audience, you are definitely motivated, and you can feel it, you can hear it, and I know some people are being inspired. But tell us, what is that core thing that keeps you motivated every single day when you rise up to not roll back over in the bed a couple times? What keeps you motivated to keep going and keep pushing as it relates to being an entrepreneur?
One word, my friend: freedom. One word: freedom. I live to be free. I live to be free. There's a new form of incarceration. There's a new form of slavery that is pervading, the earth right now. Right? We're no longer walking around with shackles on our hands or feet, but we are walking around mentally enslaved, and we are enslaved by different institutions and organizations and systems. I live to be free, right? And I also encourage anyone connected to me as well to live to be free. And that is why we seek to actually own and control multiple streams of income. Because once you have multiple streams of income, then you take care of that financial stability that is required in order to live free. And that is why also I subscribe without any form of reservation to Almighty God, to Jesus Christ, to His Word, because I believe that spiritual freedom is required first, and that's the foundation, and then subsequent and after that, financial freedom is required, right? And we have a lot of persons who are walking around, and because they do not have that relationship with Almighty God. They're enslaved by habits. They're enslaved by alcoholism. They're enslaved by different things that drugs and different things that they are connected to. And I live for freedom. So when the morning comes, I'm always thinking, what's the next big idea? What's the next business? So I'm sitting here, and we launched this year. And because of the restrictions, we had to close. So we were closed. I just reopened, maybe 48 hours now, just reopened, and we had to close. But I can tell you, even while we were closed for the last couple months, I invested in other opportunities, right? Because in every crisis, there are opportunities. We just have to see
Yes.
them and then seize them.
Yes, yes, and that is so true. It's something that I love to say is, what lens are you looking through? Are you looking through your natural lens, or are you looking through your godly lens? And sometimes we wouldn't be able to see opportunity because of the way how we view things, and the mere fact that you were able to open this branch in the midst of a pandemic tells me that you definitely have some form of heavenly eyesight and foresight. Amen. So you have gone through your challenges. You guys have persevered, as we saw Lois has written. Also, we've seen the comments that are coming across. And guys, we want to say thank you for definitely commenting and sharing as we conduct these interviews. Rawle, you have inspired a lot of people with your perseverance, and you continue to thrive in the midst of it all. Tell us at least 2 to 3 takeaways you would like our audience to take away from your experience as an entrepreneur.
First and foremost, I like persons to take away that whether it is in a pandemic, post-pandemic, no matter what the time or season, it is important to always remember that all things are possible once you believe. I'm going to say that again for those who are writing. All things are possible for you once you believe. It doesn't matter who does not believe. It does not matter if you have the support. It does not matter if you have the money. It does not matter if you have the resource. That's not what's important. What is important is once you believe. Once you believe, that's what's important. The other thing I like persons to take away is that your dreams, do not give up on your dreams. Whatever might be a present circumstance and your situation, hold on to your dreams. Believe in your dreams. Your dreams there's a purpose for them. They are necessary. They are required. Without you, the world will never be the same. And we require you to manifest and birth those dreams, to bring them into reality. If I did not create this business, then I would not be able to bring joy and happiness to many families, and that they can have love in every lick of ice cream, right? So your dreams are very, very important. Hold on to your dreams. And the third thing I like persons to take away, as you believe in your dreams and as you pursue them, always just act on them immediately. Do not hesitate, and do not procrastinate. Do not procrastinate. It's usually the start that stops most people from accomplishing their dreams and manifesting their dreams. So once you find that goal, write it down. I can show you right now. I can show you my wallet right now. This is my wallet, right? This is my wallet. And more important than my bank card in my wallet is my goal card. I have my goals written down. Everything that I'm doing here right now, I wrote before. So it's critical. Get your dreams, find it, decide what it is you want to accomplish, write it down, and then act on it. All things are possible once you believe.
That's right. Thank you, Rawle. Well said. Well, guys, you have heard it from Rawle, and it is well stated. All things are possible, and that is definitely what the show out. And we really appreciate you all for sharing with us today. We thank you for taking the time to be with us here this afternoon and to really motivate and inspire people to step out, to go the distance, to take that leap of faith and enter into the world of entrepreneurship. Whatever your dream is today, do not delay in doing it. Make sure that you are writing down your goals and you're acting upon your goals. So Rawle, thank you. And guys, again, when in Tobago, you can definitely visit. And Rawle, share with us how could they get in touch with you?
Great, great. Once in Tobago, we're located right next to Republic Bank and Crown Point. It's walking distance from Strawberry Beach facilities, one of our main beaches on the island. It's walking distance from the ANR International Airport, probably about 4 minutes walk from the airport, right? And you can also call. Our contact numbers are 776 1175, 776 1175, or 317 1927. 317-1927. We're also on social media, both Facebook and IG. Bagolicious Dessert Lounge. Feel free. We are here to satisfy the most demanding taste, right? And remember, all things are possible once you believe.
Thank you so much, Rawle. Definitely, you could be our promo ad. All things are definitely possible once you believe. So, guys, again, you will find their information. We'll put it in the description box below. Remember to like and share, subscribe to our channel, the SFC